appreciate him being here tonight. It just happened to work that way.
You want to grab your book?
Oh.
Think it's in danger.
Well,
This way, it helps a lot if you have it right side up.
I try to remember things occasionally, but I don't always get it the way it's supposed to be.
Don't look at me.
So,
To speak up.
I'll start with where I came from, how I got to Lakeview.
Good.
Anyway, I was had a courtship with my good wife here, and she had something to do with bringing me to Lakeview. She was going to college in Aberdeen, South Dakota. I was working for a large implement in South Dakota, probably the largest in the state at that time. And anyway, she was going to school, and I worked for the implement for a year. And then she decided she was going to go out and work with the Indians at the BIA system. So she went to teaching there at the BIA school at Manderson, which is on the Pine Ridge Reservation. I quit my job at the implement and moved with her, like we do. And when I got there, I found out that I really wasn't the best person for that type of an area. So I went to selling ranch feeds and driving school bus for Catholic Mission there, Lady of Lourdes. I guess we did that for a couple of years. Well, we owned a mobile home, so we moved that out on the reservation. We had one of our old friends that had a gravel truck, and he bypassed the checkpoints, and he says, "If they stop, just say I'm on the gravel crew with them." So anyway, we got this trailer moved back there, and then one day I came home from work, and Floyd said, "You want to go to Oregon?" Yeah, I guess. So we up and traded the mobile home in Rapid City, took a direct delivery here out of Boise to Lakeview. They brought it in, dumped it, and left. There was nothing set up, so we had fun. And we piled everything in a trailer and hooked it on the back. We didn't have a pickup in these. We hooked it on the back of the automobile, and we struck out for Lakeview, Oregon. Well, when we got here, we was a little bit shocked because it was not like our Dakota country. I was born and geared on a farm back there, and there was just a lot of
Sagebrush.
no sagebrush, just a lot of farmland. And of course, when I got here to Lakeview, I believe we met with Rick's Hunsacker the first night, and we needed a home to live in till this trailer arrived. Well, we found a home. Rex helped find it for us. The next day, Rex, and I don't remember who else, says, "Are you looking for work, Dale?" I said, "Yes, I am." So Rex took me down to the mill, introduced me to Chuck Sheldon, and Chuck said to me, he says, "Well, can you hold out till these college kids get back to work, or back to school, and their summer jobs would be over, and I could go to work there?" And I said, "No, I got to get to work." So the next day I went down to wood grain molding. I stayed down there for I'd like to say about 7 months. And anyway, they were talking union, and I didn't want any part of that. I didn't think we needed one. So I stopped in and seen Roger Chase. He was our employment man here, working for the state employment division. Roger, he referred me down to the co-op. So I packed my paperwork and went down there. It must have been about 10 o'clock in the morning. And there was Elmo Angeli, if some of you folks probably remember, and Jim Farley. They were sitting in the office there. He said, "Come on in." And I told them I'd worked setting up implements, worked for an implement dealer, and also had some knowledge of the feed end of it, selling ranch feeds. So he says, "Well, you go home and come back and go to work." So that's how I got involved with the co-op, which later on Chuck took the co-op over. So
What year was that, Dale, that you started?
it'd be 68.
9.
No, it was
9.
69, she tells me. I thought it was 16.
Somewhere in that area.
I might have missed some of the employees we had down there. And I'll just mention their names because I know Don Sims here. He's a charter member of the co-op. He told me.
Dad was on the board of directors for the co-op.
And he was also on the board of directors.
For lots of years.
But when I got down there, we had Jim Farley. Elmo had just put Jim Farley in charge. And yes, that's the way it worked. But he'd just come aboard, and Bill Smith, Art Cayley, Irene Bailey, Whitey Evans, Art Newcomb, Charles Noble, Dorothy Noble, Elmo Angeli. He was only there 2 days. Yeah. And Chuck Godfrey. And
Yeah, I was one of the charter members.
anyway, they put me to work back in the shop because I'd set up machinery and did that sort of work. And, Jim Farley came out. I probably was back there for about a month. Jim came out and he says, "Well," he said, "Art's man had an accident over there and the hand cart slipped and he broke his leg. Would you come over?" And this was working in the annex part. Well, I didn't stay there long because harvest season was coming upon us. In them days, we did have quite a bit of grain that we were receiving. In fact, it was backed up around towards the building material. And of course, they give me the steel shovel and told me to get with the program, I guess. Well, this is one thing I still remember, like yesterday. Lynn Albertson came in and he was hauling oats from the ZX up here. And he had a semi, and it was a flat belly, or flat bottom, but it had trap doors probably, I'd say 8 feet. It seemed like it was 8 feet. It might have been 7 or 6. And we just literally have to get in there and shovel that grain towards the hole in the thing. Here, I was up there and I'd been working with an old steel shovel. So I guess it was probably about 100 degrees that day. Anyway, I climbed out of the truck. I was quite upset about that old steel shovel because I knew they sold aluminum scoops over there. So I took that shovel, I threw it across, it hit the iron grit, just barely missed Bill Smith. He just laughed. He says, "Well, I told Bill, I says, you know, if this place can't afford a aluminum scoop for us, I said, I'll just go over and get one and buy one myself. So I went over there and Whitey says, oh, here's an aluminum scoop, but he says, I don't know how long it's going to last. I went back and told Bill about that. I says, well, I got a light scoop shovel to use today. Bill says, well, good luck to you. He says, you won't keep it very long. You know? I took the handle and I painted it red. I put the Co-op's name on there. I think I had that scoop around there till it wore out because nobody dared to fool with it.
Very identifiable, right?
It was identifiable. We had it around there many years.
Yes, where was the Co-op? Is that where that tall silo thing is?
Yes,
Okay.
that was part of the grain. First they had the grain and feed business. They sold implements and
Cars?
well, that's in Chuck when he took over. We took the Dodge dealership on. But anyway, I worked over there in the elevators with Bill, I guess, till he left. But, you know, we'd unload grain all day there, sometimes 7 in the morning till 8 at night. Then we'd have to load some cars in the evening occasionally. And these old cars came in, if there was a shortage of hopper cars, even in '68, they brought a box car in and they had a cardboard shutter that went over the door with steel straps in it. So we'd have to put them doors in there and get the grain spout set so it would shoot the grain towards the front or wherever you might move it. The hopper cars were much easier to load. Well, Chuck, you took over in what, 1970?
I don't remember things like that.
You don't remember?
No, I am curious of one thing. Dale
Yes.
learned how to balance that old wood grain elevator that just got tore down. And if you didn't do it right, you're going to tip that thing. You have to put grain here and then balance it out over here and all those different things. And I don't know where you ever learned that.
Well, I more or less learned it through Bill and other employees. But I think Bill had, during harvest we had 3 people over there with Bill. And then Art Keeley had a couple over in the annex department. I learned all the trade through Bill there. But anyway, the old elevator, you just couldn't bend one side of it because it would start leaning so bad that the leg in there, we had 2 legs in the old elevator. One was, went over cleaner, a scalper, and the other one was, after it was scalped, it come back into the pit from the back side and be elevated up to the bends. So you
Tell
could,
them what a leg is.
yeah, many of you probably don't know what I'm talking about when I say leg. Leg is just in the elevators
With cups.
with cups on it and the belt, and it go around and around, and it would go up to a distributor, and then you could, whatever bin you wanted to use, you could set the spout over to that distributor into these different bins. Well, our leg was still with the metal cups. A lot of the newer legs, of course, they've got nylon or plastic or whatever they are. Some of the old the elevators would blow up from them old legs with metal. And you'd hear about elevators exploding. That was part of the reason. But, one important thing was we were handling grain, and it was similar to handling money. You had to be responsible for the time the grain came until it left. And I actually didn't get involved much in the brokering of it. the manager at the co-op mainly done that. And then, of course, when Chuck took over, he managed a broker of the grain. And one time we were even distributing grain for the Mormon church. And we had quite a bit we cleaned the grain, and the Mormon church had a program. Anyway, we'd ship out semi-loads of grain. Well, I'll never forget this night. Our trucker, there's one train that goes through Bly, and they only go through there, I guess, to switch and turn back. Anyway, he runs into the train, so we had a truck wreck with the train over there.
We went over there.
In Bly. Yes, we went over there and we tried to salvage some of the grain off the road and the ditches because we had a grain cleaner, and we could come back and clean that grain and make some use of it. But that's one thing I really remember, and I'll have to tell this because Treva's here. I don't want to put you on the spot. We always had some water problem in the legs, and whenever I got there loading on grain, I'd always open the door and check to see if there was water that was being picked up by the leg, because you can't run water in grain. So I opened the door and up comes Sammy the skunk. He was bushy-tailed and ready to go, but he left a little bit of scent for me. Of course, the trucker, he was going to shoot the skunk in the alleyway there, and I said, no, I said, just open the door and let him go. Anyways, we used to have a Christmas get-together party. Treva gave me a Sammy for Christmas. I still have him, by the way. He'd wind up and he'd go dancing and his tail would come up. But it wasn't all work. We had a lot of fun too. Although, you know, sometimes especially I remember when the co-op had it, we was running a lot of grain through, and there was quite a cloud of dust over there for a while. The neighbors really didn't like us. You can't blame them. The lady that lived right there in the corner, trying to think her name, Mary Smead.
Mary Smead.
Anyway, some of you probably remember her.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, she was a sweet lady. She was nice about it. But I think she took the blunt of the dust there. It was a good job. I enjoyed working for the co-op when it turned to be the Agonado, and Chuck was the manager. I enjoyed working there. I did do other things occasionally. One thing was I remember branding, getting a bunch of old brands, and we branded the brands on Green lumber, Chuck?
Well,
Quite a few brands we had.
it was nice finished lumber.
Yeah, it was blued lumber, wasn't it?
It might have been, yeah.
Yeah, well, I enjoyed doing that. And then Chuck had an old Titan tractor, and
Still did.
you still have it.
Yeah.
You still run through the parade. I haven't seen you
I
in the
haven't
parade.
run it for several years now.
I did see you there for a while.
Yeah.
Chuck run it through the parade, and Titan is one of the earliest. Actually, was there before the International was.
I think it's about a 1918, something like that.
1918. So it had history.
Okay, when did the co-op close?
I like to say me and Chuck loaded the last carload of grain. It was 1990. But things, you know, in this country, things have to change, because here's the farmer. He was getting roughly $105 a ton for his wheat. Well, he no longer could keep going, and with all the expenses related to farming, so they started raising grass, alfalfa, and it made it probably at that time a little more profitable.
Most of the grain was dry land here.
Yes, most of the grain was dry land, and we had some pretty good sized growers here. C.B. Clark, if some of you remember him, and Orla Schulenberger. They were two of them.
A lot of dry land grain, you only get a crop every second year. You're trying to reserve enough moisture in that soil to grow your grain. And it's pretty hard to be competitive anymore with country like Pendleton and what have you.
Every other year.
Well, Chuck, you want to add stuff that I missed? I know that
Oh no.
there's a lot more
I
to
have a
the
question.
business.
What
Yeah.
did Bud Reynolds have to do with the co-op? He came to BLM from the co-op.
Well, he was actually managing it before Elmo, I believe. Didn't he manage the co-op for a short
You know, I
time?
don't know. I worked with him several years at
I'm sure he
BLM.
did.
I think he did before Jim Farley. Jim Farley had, what, the Ford dealership here?
Yes.
After that.
Right. Before that, I think he moved
Yeah, good
to the
bit.
co-op for a while.
But they had several managers here.
What year was that wooden structure built?
I have no idea.
I
Had
was
to be in
told
the 40s.
it was built right about 41, and that would have been just before the war, I imagine.
Yeah, it was right after the war. I went up when it was being built, so it was 46 or 47 when they were working on it, and I rode up on the little square platform in the middle, burned the hell out of my hand on the rope because two of us on that little platform wasn't smart enough to slow it down.
Well, we had, I can tell you something about that. That man left, of course, we were banning some grain, so we had, under the Warehouse Act, and we had the federal government there looking over our shoulders. And this one guy, I'm heavy enough, but he was heavier than I was, and he tries to get on this man lift. Well, there was a counterbalance. The cable just went up to the top of the elevator, over a pulley, and back down inside, and you had to put extra weight on there. The guy was going to be heavier. Well, he jumped on that thing, and boy, he couldn't get up there, and he come snorting down there. He says, well, I'm going to red tag that. And I didn't say anything. I had no comment, of course. And when I come back, he had a red tag on there, but he really didn't have any authority because he wasn't a safety inspector. He was just a federal man working for the government measuring the grain. Well, I used that man lift after that. I never did have a problem, but he sure made a snort about it.
Well, the two of us rode to the top and couldn't get it back down. We couldn't figure out how to get it down, so we had to go down on that vertical ladder on the side in there
Oh my.
and get home.
Oh boy.
I don't know who the kid was with me. The one that I thought it was, he said I wasn't with you.
Hey, Dale,
You
we
got-
got time enough for a few songs.
Oh.
If you brought some.
Yeah, I want to tell you one more thing about Dale. When you sell grain, you have to grade it, and he was a grader, certified grader, and it's quite a job.
Yes.
Oh, we had lots of fun because I'd stand there and pick out the rye in the wheat. Well, the wheat wasn't worth anything anyway, and we found out some places where we're shipping it, if it went overseas, they actually added rye to it for export. I had to stand there and pick it all out. Now the grades were 1 through 5, and then it went into feed grain purposes. Well, it didn't always go over that good with the growers, but we did have sample bins. Everybody that had grain in the bins had a sample bin in the elevator. Well, when they came in with the truck, we probed for it. So many grams went into this sample bin, and it was held. And of course, we could take that and through Chuck, the broker, we would ship it to wherever he was dealing with these people. We could ship them a little sample.
Down south, wasn't it?
Some of it.
Yeah, we shipped quite a bit down to, I can still remember the
Yeah,
guy's name,
a lot of them.
Vitalia Fry was
Oh,
one.
Fry, yeah.
And Stockton, we shipped some. Did we ship to Cargill when you were there?
Oh, once or
Yes.
twice, yeah.
Yes. Well, that was export up there, a lot of it was.
Nice stuff.
Chuck, you want to?
No, you did a great job.
Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.